we go. The Friday edition, Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gerber Law Offices. One call. That's all studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Good to be with you on this Friday. JOSHY DiMaggio is off. Will Sommers is here. Hunter Vaughn is here. Lots to get to as we get ready for the preseason opener for the Green Bay Packers coming up tomorrow at Lambeau Field against the New York Jets. We will dive into that matchup, some of the things we're looking for. And obviously some of the headlines coming out of Green Bay this week, which includes a couple of injuries I don't think we've talked about yet in the defensive backfield, both the Nate Hobbs and Xavier McKinney, that one coming out yesterday. So we'll get into all that and a bunch of Packer stuff because I am happy to announce it's football season. Come on now. It's football season. Let's go. Josh was right.
No, just breaking news. I was being silly.
Oh, yeah, breaking news. It's football season.
That was an incredible pause for dramatic effect, Hunter.
I was trying to do other things. I'm a little behind, a little flustered. I didn't have a flat tire like Jesse Nelson, but just did not manage my time well getting the show set up today. So I was not near the microphone.
I thought we might have had real breaking news or something like that.
No, probably not. Probably not today, but we will tomorrow because there's going to be a bunch of things that we take away from, the Packers preseason opener. Also, the Brewers are halfway to free burgers from George Webb. They've won 6 in a row. They got to win 6 more, which includes, 3 of those will need to come against the Chicago Cubs next week, including, and then they'll, of course, a weekend sweep of the New York Mets. But we could be talking by Tuesday night, man. Next Wednesday, we could be talking free burgers from George Webb.
I'm going back when they get 11 wins.
Oh, I will too. Just to prove we are not a jinx, or to prove we are a jinx. I guess it's one or the other. So, anyway. So let's get into the preseason because I do want to effectively communicate my excitement, but also maintain level-headedness. As you're not going to learn anything super real in the preseason. Right? You're going to see some cool things. And, you're going to have a game likely for the Packers where Adam Stenavich is calling the plays for the offense. And you're going to have a game where, this weekend you're likely going to see Jordan Love, but it will be the only time you see Jordan Love in the preseason. And hopefully it's as efficient and as effective as it was last year. One drive, touchdown, you're done. Right? I don't want to put any more pressure on Jordan Love's body than necessary, despite some of the things that Matt LaFleur has to say about his philosophy and his theory towards starters in the preseason, which we will hear in a moment. But when it comes to, especially this weekend, but the 3 games overall in the preseason, you're not going to learn a ton. You're not going to have a ton of takeaways that change your opinion about the 2025 Packers, especially on the positive side. The only thing that could change your opinion on the Packers is if there is a injury that affects the season, which, knock on wood, hopefully that's not the case. So, as excited as I am, and as much as I will watch, and as much as I will probably overreact, as my fan brain often does, you're not going to see anything in the preseason that makes you go, wait a minute, they just went from an 11 or 12 win team to a 17-0 team, right? They're not going to do anything that makes you go, oh my goodness, all of a sudden they are the favorite in the NFC. Nobody's beating the Green Bay Packers. If you already have that opinion, that's great, but you're not going to see anything in the preseason that changes your mind on that. So, that's my level-headedness. That I wanted to start with because now I am going to get into overreaction and different things that I'm looking for that might change my opinion on players, but it won't change my opinion on the teams. So let's start here, Hunter. Give me some football music because I want to run through the 3 things that I am looking for in preseason game number 1. So these are the 3 things I've got my eye on for the Packers tomorrow against the New York Jets in preseason game number 1. The number 1 thing, which will be the number 1 thing in all 3 preseason games, is can you get out of there healthy? Health will be the number 1 thing you're looking for. Football is a dangerous sport, and you are naturally going to see some injuries, whether that be to the Jets or the Packers. The hope is it is to nobody that will have a significant impact on your season. So number 1 is health when it comes to the 3 things I'm looking for in tomorrow's game. Number 2, which we'll get to more in a bit, but the guy that I'm fascinated with for this Packers preseason and training camp and all the in-betweens is wide receiver, now cornerback, Bo Melton. He's been making some positive headlines at training camp the last couple of weeks. But tomorrow is the first real live action that Bo Melton will see at cornerback. I heard him talk about how hyped up he is, how excited he is at his locker yesterday after practice. But now it's time to figure out, is Bo Melton for real? Can he make the roster as a cornerback, and can he make an impact at cornerback? Because he's going to have the opportunity. Nate Hobbs isn't going to play in the preseason, likely, with the injuries he's dealing with. You're not going to see a ton of time from Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine. Bo Melton's going to have a ton of opportunity tomorrow and throughout the preseason. Is Bo Melton for real?
He seems like such an easy guy to root for. Like, could you imagine being a professional athlete at one position that you've played? He didn't even play cornerback in college, right?
No, his brother did. His brother's a corner in the league for the Arizona Cardinals, but he never did, no.
And just taking it in stride and being happy to be able to step on the field and get paid to play football every day. I'm rooting for Bo Melton big time.
Yeah, Bo knows ball, right? And the cool thing of him is he did have his one breakout game a couple of years ago against the Vikings on New Year's Eve, where he had over 100 yards receiving. I think he had a touchdown or two. He had an awesome game offensively. And you can still utilize him if push comes to shove and maybe things fall the wrong way for the wide receiver room, right? Injuries is, of course, what I'm referring to. But as always, knock on wood, that doesn't happen.
That's the crazy thing, too. It's not like he was a guy that had a lot of speed but just didn't have hands. Like, he was pretty good at his position.
He was solid, but obviously the investment level in the draft picks and guys above him and like McCole Hardman's likely going to make the roster. At least that's the opinion I have now. That could change throughout these preseason games.
But I'm saying, like, on the Carolina Panthers, he'd be like their wide receiver 3 or 2.
Probably a bad example because the Panthers have a lot of good receivers.
Last year, yes, I agree with you. Way to save that one. Attaboy, Will. Oh, that's what I was referring to. Obviously, I definitely wasn't thinking of this year. Who thinks of this year? I always live in the past.
Well, they have what? Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Tet McMillan. Like, they've got receivers in Carolina.
Yeah, going into last season.
So there you go. Yeah, good save. So, number 2, what I'm looking for is Bo Melton for real at the cornerback position. And finally, number 3, what I'm looking for is which wide receivers take advantage of the opportunity. Similarly to Bo Melton. Will we see him on offense at some point? I don't know the answer to that. But this is a crowded room. And with the expectation that at least all of them, except Christian Watson, will see some time, will there be a Romeo Doubs moment? Will there be a Savion Williams moment, the 3rd-round pick this year? Malik Heath is another guy who's probably teetering closer to not making the roster than making the roster. Can he have a breakout in preseason game 1 that all of a sudden flips the narrative a little bit in that crowded room? We don't know how many they're going to keep, but there are several talented guys at the back end of that depth chart that are going to have some great opportunities over the course of the next couple of weeks. So tomorrow especially, which wide receivers will step up? So just to recap, the 3 things I'm looking for in preseason game number 1 for the Packers against the New York Jets. Number 1, health. Get out of there healthy. Number 2 is Bo Melton for real at cornerback. And number 3, which wide receivers will step up? There's obviously other things I'm looking for, right? Some of the young defensive players, have they taken that next step? A guy like Baron Sorrell, 99, will shine. Will we see some pop from him in preseason game 1 with the opportunity of a lot of playing time? There's other things I'm looking for, but those are the main 3. And health will always be the main one in the preseason. Can the starters especially, but can everybody get out of there healthy is obviously priority number 1 for the Green Bay Packers here in live game number 1. Did I miss anything?
I'm surprised Lucas Van Ness did not crack the top 3. In all the chaos of all the talk we had last season about this front 4 isn't getting pressure, that's why the defense is allowing, I think there's only one NFC North game they allowed under 20 points. Like, in all that chaos, I'm surprised his progress from what we've seen so far in training camp wasn't mentioned.
So he did come to mind. The reason I didn't put him on the list is I'm not sure what to anticipate in terms of how much will the starters play. Will I only see him for one drive? Yeah, would I love to see him, make some chaos, wreck some games, wreck some days? Of course. But am I positive that Lucas Van Ness will play more than a drive? No, I'm not. Right? And the Jets are playing their starters, which is good. Obviously, new coaching staff in there, new quarterback in there, and Justin Fields, who makes his triumphant return to Lambeau Field. Your guy, Willie.
Yeah.
Justin Fields.
Pescatarian. He only eats fish.
What is Justin Field quarterback number 4 of he's the savior of the Bears? Is that the order?
I will never say anything bad about Justin Fields. He's a great guy. I really
He got a bad shake.
I think he was dealt a bad hand.
Okay. I agree with you.
Yeah, like
I thought he would be the dude. And again, I think he got an unfair shake. He gets traded to Pittsburgh last year. I think he started 4 games for them, and they went 3-1 before Russell Wilson returned. And he showed some really good things in Pittsburgh. So I'm intrigued by the second act for Justin Fields.
And I mean, his second year as a Bear, his wide receiver 1 was Dante Pettis.
Yeah, and that's not going to help.
Didn't really have much help. But
Caleb Williams has a lot more help than Justin Fields did.
I think Van Ness will be interesting this week more so than other preseason games, since the Packers haven't had any of those joint practices yet. We'll get a lot of reps against different left tackles and not Jordan Morgan.
I hope you're right. I mean, especially that defense I'm fascinated by, because they had overall a solid year last year, but there were things that were clear shortcomings, like sacking the opposing quarterback being the main one, despite the inflated numbers because they had 2 games with a bunch of sacks. But all in all, Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness and Kingsley Enagbare and Brenton Cox Jr., like, they didn't get to the quarterback as much as they should have.
Who's the Jets left tackle? Is it Mekhi Becton?
Is he still there? I honestly don't know off the top of my head, but you might be right. Left tackle is Olu Fashanu.
I think he's pretty good. So that'll be interesting for the 1 or 2 drives that he's out there, how he matches up against somebody that's not a Packers player.
Mekhi Becton is a Los Angeles Charger.
He was highly touted going into the Jets.
And by the way, Mekhi Becton, Super Bowl champion. He was an Eagle last year. He hasn't been on the Jets since 2023. Ball knowledge.
I told you I'm living in the past.
Ball knowledge suffering.
I'm living in the
today.
past. I don't live in the current.
I don't know that that's a good thing.
No, it's not. I didn't say it was.
Joe Tippmann is their starting center, Hunter, former Badger. So we'll see him tomorrow. We will see old friend Allen Lazard tomorrow, one of their starting receivers. And then obviously that defense has some big names, right? Quinnen Williams, who likely won't play, but Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, Will McDonald, the Wisconsin kid, he's also questionable, so probably won't play. Actually, their entire defensive line is questionable or out for tomorrow. Will McDonald, questionable. Byron Cowart, questionable. Quinnen Williams, questionable. And Jermaine Johnson is out. So you will get the second-team defensive line, likely, for the New York Jets right from the gates, which hopefully allows Josh Jacobs some more running room.
Seems like the Packers won that pick swap between Will McDonald and Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness ready to go week 1, preseason. Will McDonald not.
It's a good spin zone. I like that. Yeah, yeah. The thing that actually pisses me off the most about the Lucas Van Ness pick is I'm not always right with my draft crushes.
Really?
Yeah, really. But
well, yeah, I was being sarcastic. You have a draft crush on everybody, the Packers.
Oh, that's not true. I think, but sometimes I'm very right. And the Lucas Van Ness year, I was very right. My draft crush was Christian Gonzalez, who ended up with the New England Patriots and is now one of the best corners in the league. And that would solve a lot of problems on this Packers defense if Christian Gonzalez was a Packer instead of Lucas Van Ness. So that's one where I'm kicking myself. Because Christian Gonzalez was my dude in 2023, that would have been. 2024 and 2025, I wanted a receiver, so they did that this year. So Matthew Golden, who I predicted the Packers would pick, is who they picked. So they got my draft crush this year, which I'm happy about.
Did you actually predict that, or are you just saying
I did.
You predicted it?
Yeah,
I
was producing those shows.
Right.
I remember, yes.
I wasn't down you. I was just making sure.
Yeah. No, and that's...
Matthew Golden was my prediction.
Well, and then the Christian Gonzalez stuff, wasn't he taken before, like he was taken early, wasn't he? Wasn't he a top 10 pick?
No, he was like 18th or 19th overall. He was picked after Van Ness and
Oh, okay. I think he was mocked to go that high and then fell a little bit. Because that was that weird
fell.
one where all the defensive guys fell. And it was just a weird draft. I remember it now.
He was picked 17. He was picked 17 to New England. They got that pick from Pittsburgh. 13 was Green Bay, Lucas Van Ness. He went right after Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a pretty good football player. 15th was Will McDonald, who's obviously been awesome. 17th was Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback. 18th was Jack Campbell to the Detroit Lions, the linebacker who's had a pretty good career, his teammate. And pick 20 was Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, in the 2023 NFL draft, the Packers just missed.
I mean, hindsight's
Zay Flowers was pick 22. I'm going to keep going. Pick 23 was Jordan Addison. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, which the Packers didn't really need, was picked 25 in 2023.
This might go down as like an all-time draft class.
Sam Laporta, pick 34 to the Lions. God, did the Lions hit in this draft.
Well, and they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs right after they got David Montgomery from the Bears, so everyone was like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, so pick 12, they had Jahmyr Gibbs. Pick 18, they got Jack Campbell. and pick 34, they got Sam Laporta.
And
that's a ridiculous draft.
After that draft, I'm almost positive they were given a draft grade of a D because they were like, why'd you take that running back?
People hated the Jack Campbell pick too.
Can't miss this one, by the way. Pick 45, Brian Branch, the safety.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Who I believe is an All-Pro. So, really good draft in 2023 for the Lions. Not so much for the Packers, but
now, hang
some
on.
good later picks. But.
I'm gonna go a little bit of a spin zone here for you with this because my TikTok, among something else that we will get to later that it's been filled with, has been the joke propaganda to draft Kyle Pitts in your fantasy league again this year.
I've also seen a ton of this. Yes.
And one of the things that I saw was that Antonio Gates didn't have his first legitimately good season until his fourth year. Kyle Pitts entering his fourth year now in the NFL. So people are saying that, hey, maybe it just takes 4 years. So maybe it just is going to take Van Ness a little bit more time. And then he still pans out. It just might take him a little bit longer to adjust. I don't think so, but I'm just trying to help.
It's a spin zone. I like it. Well, look, to Will's point on Van Ness, to kind of put a bow on this, hearing Jason Wilde, who is much smarter than all three of us combined, right? Everybody would agree with that? Nobody's going to disagree?
Easily.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Hunter, yeah, you're good with that? Okay. So Jason Wilde is, I don't want to say he's buying into the Lucas Van Ness hype, but he did say and again, he didn't want people to run and overreact with this, but I understand the point where he's coming from, is he compared Lucas Van Ness to Giannis. And he's not saying he's going to become the best player in the world like Giannis has, but he's saying from a philosophy of drafting this person standpoint, the Packers drafted Van Ness to develop him. They didn't expect him to be an immediate impact player in year 1 and year 2. Right? And the Bucks didn't draft Giannis based on he's going to come in and impact our team immediately. They drafted on potential. And so similarly, it's just an easy comparison to make in Wisconsin because Giannis wasn't Giannis for the first several years of his career. That's been the case with LVN. He's been completely disappointing the first 2 years, given the expectation. But now it's year 3. It's put up or shut up time for Lucas Van Ness. The guy is a massive dude. He's strong as hell. He's quick. He just needs to put it all together. And he needs to add, and the problem with him is he just doesn't have that many great moves coming off, coming out of a 3-point stance to beat an offensive lineman. Now, could that change this year? We'll see, but he's been effectively eating Jordan Morgan's lunch at training camp for the last week while Rasheed Walker's been sidelined. So, obviously good reports, but that's a disappointing first-round pick against a disappointing first-round pick. So how much stock can you put into it? I don't know. So tomorrow, if we do see a good chunk of LVN, which I hope you're right, Will, I hope we get more than one possession or more than one drive defensively with the starters in there, I would like to see some good things out of him. Yes, I'm with you.
That was the skepticism about him when the Packers made that draft pick too, right? Was his lack of games played or games started at Iowa?
He never started a game.
He played one full season, right?
Yeah, he was there for 3 years, but he never started a game. Or it was 2 years only, I think. So he's really young. But he never started a game because Iowa always did the old guys are going to start, but he played a bunch. It's just, he still hasn't started a game in the NFL, technically. So we'll see. Hopefully it's a big year for him. I don't know. I don't want to count him out because I think physically he's got all the gifts. They call him Hercules for a reason, but he just hasn't been able to put it together. So we'll see. Hopefully tomorrow's a good start for that.
What are the odds that Lucas Van Ness becomes the Packers version of what Andrew Vaughn is to White Sox fans?
Well,
can I take this?
Well, yes, as a White Sox fan you can. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question. You're saying he leaves and becomes a superstar?
Yes, leaves, goes somewhere else, and then just has an absurdly great run with a team.
I will let the White Sox fan field this one.
This is a little different because Andrew Vaughn was the Heisman Trophy winner of baseball. So he was very good in college. And then he was okay, and then he sucked, and now he's good. Lucas Van Ness was kind of average, bad. So I don't know where that falls on where we're projecting the graphs to fall, like those day traders do. You know what I'm talking about? Like how they project like the trends of the graph on which stock to buy, like short it or sell it.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know where
you just broke.
Are you
Strouf's
trading
brain.
a lot of stocks?
No. You think I know anything besides what I just said about that?
Well, it sounds like you don't even know what you just said, is why I'm asking.
I think I know what I just said. I 75% know what I just said. And Hunter understood me, and he's smarter than you, so.
Not a high bar, but yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It wasn't a diss.
Well, it kind of was at Strouf.
Well, it was, but it's fine. Yeah, but also it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just move on. I'm done with this. Let's hear from the head coach, Matt LaFleur, because I'm fascinated by his response. So he was asked by a reporter yesterday, will we see the quarterbacks? And he said, yes, I hope to get them all meaningful snaps. But then he went on to explain kind of his philosophy of how he's been approaching the preseason, both in past years, but also this upcoming year. And I think it just opens the floodgates of, is the reward worth the risk? And we'll get into that conversation, but first I want to hear from Packers head coach Matt LaFleur yesterday at his press conference.
Yeah, we'll do our best to give them all meaningful reps. Certainly some of those guys are going to play longer than others.
So that's on the quarterbacks. But he goes on to say that, there's no correct choice on whether or not to play your starters. But he said that injury data that supports his theory of playing starters in the preseason shows that if you play more in the preseason, or if you play at all in the preseason, you are less likely to get injured in the first 5 weeks of the regular season in the National Football League. So while I can respect the data that the NFL released, I don't know that there's a perfect way to do this. Some teams playing their starters, some teams won't touch it. Aaron Rodgers, for example, for many, many years, especially after, I think it's now 10 years ago, it was 2015 or 2016, when the Packers were in Pittsburgh for a preseason game, Jordy Nelson tore his ACL. And that completely changed the Packers' philosophy on starters in the preseason because they lost their top wide receiver and he was never the same after that. So I guess where my head goes is if you get out of there healthy, I'm for it. And I think this is what everybody would say. If you get out of there healthy, you're for it. And if you get out of there with a season-ending injury to one of your star players or one of your best players, it's going to look like a mistake. And that's the kind of lose-lose you're fighting in the preseason. Because, look, knocking the rust off and getting some valuable live reps is totally worthwhile until there's an injury. So as I sit here right now, I am saying, yes, I would like to see the starters. And I would like to see them for more than what we saw last year. We saw Jordan Love for 3 plays in the preseason last year. 3. And 2 of them were handoffs. And then he hit Dontavian Wicks on a touchdown pass on play 3, and that was Jordan Love's preseason. I didn't even watch it. I was in the car on the way to the bar that I watched the game at. Didn't see a snap of Jordan Love. I listened to it on the radio. I would like to see more Jordan Love. And I'm not saying play him every game. If he just plays this weekend, that's fine. But give him 2 drives. Right? Let's get a little bit of a rhythm. I would love to see touchdown, defense, for... if they allow a first down, that's fine, but let's get out of there with no points. And then Jordan Love gets the ball back and gets to drive again. That would be meaningful snaps to me. When he used the term meaningful snaps, some will play more than others. Yes, we're going to see more Sean Clifford and Taylor Algersma than we will Malik Willis and Jordan Love. That's just the expectation. But I would like to see at least a little bit more than we saw a year ago, just to knock the rust off and show, okay. And then you've got joint practices the rest of the way, so I don't need to see you in the preseason game against the Colts and the Seahawks. So, but that's where I'm at, and hopefully I'm not eating these words next week because of an injury. So knock on wood one more time. Hunter, go ahead.
If they weren't playing the Lions week 1, would you feel differently? Like if this was just like the Browns week 1, and like you lose to the Browns,
yes,
that's tough. Okay.
Yeah, the answer is yes, because if maybe it's not.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, well, if they're playing a horrible team, and maybe the Browns aren't the best example. Let's go if they were playing the Bears, would I feel differently?
I think it has less to do about the team you're playing and more about the physical exertion that playing like a full football game at full effort is.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it as like starting pitchers in spring training. Like you start with catch, you work your way up, you throw bullpens for an inning, and then by the end of spring training, you're able to throw, the starters at least 5 or 6 innings to a live batter. You're ready to go, right? If you needed to go play a game next week, you could. And if you're just not playing in the preseason and you're just playing catch, it's going to be hard when the heat's on and you got to, pitch on a mound to an actual live batter in baseball terms. That's just the way I look at it.
So I guess my thought on it is like a loss to Jacksonville week 1 is different than what a loss to, say, the Falcons would be. And that's different than what a loss to Minnesota or Detroit would be. Because like each of those carry a different weight to your season. But like you start off with the top dog in the division, that's very different than if you were starting off with just a random AFC team where, yeah, you lose that game, like maybe you're back a game in your overall record, but it doesn't affect things as much as what losing divisional games do or losing games to other NFC teams that you're fighting for playoff spots for.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't. I guess I'm still stuck on, am I thinking about the opponent in week 1 or am I just thinking about slow starts? I think the Packers under Matt LaFleur are 3-3 or 3-4 in week 1. I don't know the exact stat off my head, Hunter, if you could look that up, what the record is in week 1 under Matt LaFleur. But it's not good. I mean, like, for a team that's been as good as they have been under Matt LaFleur, their week 1 record is not very good. They've been out to slow starts. They lose again last year. I knew they lost to New Orleans and Jacksonville a couple of years ago. They beat the Bears in Jordan Love's first start, so he's 1-1 in week 1. But
he's 3-2.
3-2. That can't be right. He's been the head coach for more than 5 seasons.
They beat 2019 beat the Bears, 2020 beat the Vikings, lost to the Saints and the Vikings, 21 and 22, and then 23 beat the Bears. That's according to Google AI.
Well, they're missing 2024. Which they lost, so 3-3.
Yeah. So 3-3.
Okay. Google AI, man. Here's why I'm not worried about robots, because they don't get it right. And I also hate
they don't remember the Brazil game.
Yeah,
I remember the Brazil game.
I remember very well. It was a Friday night. I was very upset. But look, I'm not worried about the robots.
We're good.
Also, I hate that they do that on Google. Like, before AI, Google would actually give you accurate information. And it would give you a website that you could go to. Now it sums up all the websites incorrectly. I hate that. It's not Hunter's fault. I'm not yelling at Hunter. I don't think he did anything wrong.
I could have read ahead like 4 lines and I would have noticed that. But I literally just saw 3-2 and then started reading and then didn't realize that we didn't have a year there. So it is kind of on me.
Pat on the back to Hunter. Pat on the back to Hunter, taking accountability. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
even though I hate AI, I'll defend it here. This was on me. But AI is awful and it poisons our earth.
So I mentioned Bo Melton a little bit earlier. I guess I'm a little bit confused by it, and I'm so intrigued by it, and I'm a little bit worried about it. So it's a fascinating move by the Packers to move a wide receiver to corner. But the guy's an athlete. He's super athletic. And apparently he's catching on very well, which is great. But, and let me say one thing quick, because we've got, obviously, Hunter's a Cowboys fan. Will's a Bears fan. We have a bunch of other people. Brian D, our director of content, my boss, is a Bills fan. So we're surrounded by a lot of people that are not Packers fans, but what we do surrounds the Packers, right? Everything we do revolves around the Green Bay Packers. So we talk about them a ton. And cornerback depth has obviously been a big discussion, especially since Jair Alexander was released a couple months ago and ultimately signed to Baltimore. But you have 3 guys that you feel good about, right? Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, Carrington Valentine. You feel good about those 3. But the conversation is always, okay, well, what if one of those guys goes down? Then what? And does that become the Kalen King? Does it become Bo Melton, right? Who fills in that spot? And obviously there's a different answer, because if you're playing nickel, you probably got Javon Bullard in the slot, and you've got other options. But are we an injury away from seeing Bo Melton play serious time against the likes of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown and some of the top receivers in the league? Which depends, what defense they're in, if they're playing man-to-man, yada, yada. But Bo Melton could see playing time defensively, I think, is the worry. And we're not even certain he'll make the roster, first off. It obviously depends, I think, a ton of what he does in the preseason. But is this a suitable replacement as a depth corner? I think that's a conversation that we'll continue to have over the course of the preseason. But it is so untraditional, the move that the Packers are making here. Rather than going out and signing a corner, they changed somebody's position and spent the offseason trying to train him at that position. And again, I think he's a good athlete, and I'm excited to see what he can do this weekend because it's a game that doesn't matter. But is it actually going to work is what I'm hung up on. I don't know if the answer is yes or no. It's just, it's so out of left field. It's just something you don't see very, very commonly in the NFL, right? Going from tight end to receiver or vice versa is one thing. Going from receiver to cornerback is completely unheard of. It doesn't happen in the NFL. So, like when I look at their depth chart, which by the way is completely unofficial.
Travis Hunter.
Well, Travis Hunter is a wide receiver and a corner, and he's going to play both.
Trayvon Diggs did it at Alabama, and that's why he has such good ball skills.
How many tight ends can you name that went from tight end to wide receiver?
And it worked.
Not off the top of my head. That's the key part right there. Is I don't know how many times it's worked, but I mean it's definitely happened. Didn't they do that with Devin Funchess or try to move him from receiver to tight end?
Him and then Kelvin Benjamin. You remember him, the receiver from...
Kelvin Benjamin, yes. Actually, I think that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They were both Panthers.
I think technically, speaking of Kyle Pitts, he was considered a wide receiver in college.
Yeah, I mean, and he still is. That's the second Kyle Pitts reference on the show today.
Dude,
so looking at the depth chart, which
I'm gearing up to take him, by the way. This is his year. It's going to happen.
Of course.
We've been saying that for years. So looking at their unofficial depth chart, left cornerback Keyshawn Nixon, right cornerback Nate Hobbs, nickelback Carrington Valentine. The backups are Kamal Hayden, Bo Melton, and Kalen King. So those are your top 6 corners according to the depth chart. So he's probably going to make the roster. And obviously this move was an effort to make him make the roster. But will it work? That's why I'm so fascinated by what we see out of him tomorrow. So we will see. All right, here we go. Bunch of reaction rolling in on YouTube that I missed and I want to get back to. BCrum84. Great username. If you're worried about getting hurt in the preseason, you're more than likely getting hurt regular season anyway. Next man up. I don't know that that's true. Brian just says the letter A. I assume that was a mistake. Mike7896 says, this is exactly why you should worry about AI. Why should I worry about AI? They're wrong.
Until they recognize the Packers-Eagles Friday-Brazil game, I'm not worried.
Well said. Well.
Once they start getting that in their database, then I'll...
And then B. Crum says, AI scares the bleep out of me, which... For some capacities, it should, right? So, like, I'm a really big music fan. Aside from sports, I do music, right? Like, those are my 2 biggest, like, favorite things in life. Aside from people, I love people, and I love doing this. I love talking and sports content and sports media and sports radio. But music and sports are like the 2 things. Those are my favorite forms of entertainment. And there's been this big thing with the past couple months of Spotify launching AI bands without signaling or noting that this band is all AI generated. And there was one band that blew the hell up, right? I think they were at like 100,000 monthly listeners. I've not listened to them because I'm not giving any time to that crap. But we did a show on Kyle Brust and Nortman, the show I produce on afternoons in ESPN Wisconsin. And we did a day where we did AI generated music. And in 4 minutes with a small prompt, they came up with a song for Kyle Brust and Nortman. From 2 to 5, we keep it alive. We play it every day at 3:57 and 4:57 in the show. It's all AI generated. It was made in 3 minutes. So that's scary to me from a musician standpoint because musicians are some of the most talented people in the world. And now Spotify, the biggest audio streaming platform in the world, is peddling AI generated bands without noting that they're AI generated. That's scary to me.
Yeah, and what also makes this worse and why I said the line earlier that AI is poisoning the earth, read an article about how one question to ChatGPT uses this to cool the server that it needs to generate that. It will use 6 bottles of water worth of water just to cool the server. And then that water is gone because it gets so hot that it just evaporates and it's gone. And then where these server farms are, it like literally poisons the water. And there's like metal sediment inside people's wells now in these communities and also causing blackouts because they pull so much electricity in these areas. Like it's really bad for the environment and something that we should not be using as much as we are.
So they're literally pouring 6 bottles of water on it?
Like, it's the equivalent
Not
amount
literally.
of water.
It's the equivalent.
So
Yeah,
they
it's
use the
equivalent.
water to cool these giant server farms because you have to keep computers at like a cool temperature for them to run properly. So they're constantly pumping water through it, and the more you use it, the more water they need to use to keep the server cool. Because the more a computer gets used, the warmer it gets.
Hydraulics.
I'm done with AI talk.
Hydraulics.
I'm done with AI talk. B Crumb 84 says, go down in a couple AI rabbit holes. Scary the stuff, the power it will hold.
Yes.
In the future. So we were talking about Melton, and I said it's kind of unheard of for a player to switch from wide receiver to cornerback. Moving pictures of Video Metropolis on YouTube says this. Unheard of. Herb Adderley, Bob Jeter, and Willie Wood all switched from defense to offense. Bob Jeter last played in the NFL in 1973.
That might be the best collection of three names right in a row. Can you read it again?
Yeah, it's Bob Jeter, Willie Wood, and Herb Adderley. Bob Jeter last played in the NFL in 1973. Willie Wood last played in the NFL in 1971. And Herb Adderley, who's a legend, by the way, should be in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. Packers Hall of Fame. Both Hall of Fames. But 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. He was a legend, Herb Adderley, who passed away a couple of years ago. Last played in the NFL in 1972.
Yeah.
So that's over 50 years ago
So
that all the three of those happened.
That's the Bob
So I'm
Cousy,
saying
they were defending plumbers argument.
Right. Correct. He just referenced 5 guys that haven't played, or 3 guys that haven't played in over 50 years. Yes, it was heard of in the 1970s when dudes had second jobs. But in modern day NFL, it is unheard of for a guy to switch from receiver to cornerback. But I appreciate you commenting on that because everybody needs a history lesson. And none of us were alive for those guys. But Herb Adderley, if you don't know who that is, and you're like in my age range, go do some research on Herb Adderley. That guy is a legend. Pro Football Hall of Famer. Bo Melton, Pro Bowl incoming? No, probably not. I mean, that'd be awesome, by all means. If he becomes the Packers' Travis Hunter, that'd be so sick. By the way, Travis Hunter going to play both sides of the ball in the NFL. Liam Cohen did confirm that. So I'm curious to see what those snap counts look like. Because the guy can't play the whole game in the NFL.
They got
it's
to
just not
sell
going to work.
tickets somehow.
That's true. Chef Ed chimes in. The one thing that I know is not AI and is my thoughts. Salvatore and Andrew King Vaughn. I was over at the sandwich shop before the show, and the dude referred to Andrew Vaughn, who was making my sub. He referred to Andrew Vaughn as King Vaughn. He was all fired up about the Brewers. I loved it.
King Vaughn shirt giveaway.
So
Can I be
have a question
referred
for
to
you
as
guys.
King Vaughn?
No. Oh. Maybe Prince Vaughn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir?
So I do have a question for you guys on etiquette tomorrow. So I am attending a wedding tomorrow with my girlfriend. I am the plus one. It's my girlfriend's friend, former coworker of hers. And I'll be tagging along. I won't know about anybody at the wedding. I know the bride a little bit. I think I've met the groom once in passing. So I will know nobody at this wedding. The Packers will play during the reception. Their wedding is earlier in the afternoon, and then the Packers play at 7. So we'll be at the reception. I imagine we'll be seated. This is probably roughly around dinner time. And I'm a nerd. I'm a dork. There's also a work component, but I'm not going to mention that. To watching the Packers. I got to watch the Packers. I'm on the air Sunday morning for Sunday Karma beginning at 10 a.m. Like, I'd like to know what the hell's going on. And also, I'm just like a diehard Packers fan. Is it rude to pull out my phone, pull up the YouTube TV app, and watch the game on my phone during the reception? Is that rude? Will, we will start with you. Is that rude of me?
I do think it's rude, but I think it's more lame if anything. You just said you love people, and at a wedding reception where the drinks are flowing, you're dancing, you're trying to have a good time, you're trying to bring up the vibe of celebrating two people deciding to spend the rest of their lives together, and you're going to watch preseason football.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's lame.
I disagree. I think I'm just a football fan. You're going to a wedding tomorrow. You won't watch a preseason game?
No chance.
Okay. Different weddings for the record.
My full energy focused on the bride and groom celebrating their special day.
But you're like good friends with these people, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not in my position where I'm going to know nobody.
Well, you just said you like people. Go meet some people.
Well, I think this is a good way to meet people, but we'll get to that in a second. Hunter, is it rude of me to pull up my phone at a preseason with a preseason football game at a wedding reception?
Absurdly rude. Like, this is incredibly rude.
Oh, wow.
Because think about, even you don't do it during the ceremony, but then it's during the reception, like, they paid probably pushing $100 for your plate for you to be there. Like, that's the part that I think people forget when they do this at weddings. Like, you see the videos all the time of, like, college football games and that stuff. Unless it's, like, Wisconsin, Minnesota, or, you know, Tennessee, Alabama, like, you don't do that. Because this couple just paid money for you to be there. Like, the least you can do is just enjoy the party. And, like, the NFL Network is going to replay that game at some point. You just said you have YouTube TV. You can record that game and then watch it back that evening or in the morning if you actually get some actual rest, and then you'd have it fresh in your mind going into Sunday Karma. You could treat that like a post-game show of the preseason game. Like, you can't do this, Strouf. It's not that big of a deal. If this was a regular season game, or like I did this for a graduation and a Bucks playoff game, those are two very different things. Packers preseason game, this is just one of the most rude things you could do.
Well, I don't know about that, first off. Second off, I don't view it as rude. And by the way, I'm going to do it no matter what you say. I don't really care how much you bully me or tell me it's rude. I'm going to do it. They scheduled their wedding during a Packers game. Well, actually, they scheduled their wedding, then the Packers scheduled their game during their wedding, but that's neither here nor there.
A preseason game. It's not a regular season game. A game that does not matter.
But there are things that matter. And the Packers are playing football. I'm going to watch it. That's just how it goes. I watched Family Night last week. Will was there. We watched it together.
I still think it's lame, but I could convince myself that it's not rude, because during a wedding reception, there are people that just sit at the table. So I think you could inconspicuously, big word, watch it on your phone and no one would really notice.
Well, here's the thing. Congratulations to the bride and groom. I'm very happy for them. Congratulations. Hope you have a lovely life together. But do I really care what the maid of honor, her experiences with the bride who I barely know? Do I need to hear, oh, me and Jenny, back in the second grade, we had pet hamsters that we named Phineas and Ferb because we were best friends and we wanted our hamsters to be best friends. Like, do I care? No. Do I care if Taylor Algersma's throwing bombs to Dontavian Wicks? Yeah, I do. It's as simple as that.
So you're doing it during the speeches too?
I won't have the volume on, but yeah, I'm going to pull it up as soon as I don't know what will be happening. I don't know what the timeline is for everything. The dance floor might be open at this time. I don't know. But I don't necessarily view it as rude because, frankly, it's not like we spend a lot of time with these people. They're not the best of friends, but they're friends.
So then why are you making them pay for your plate? Don't go.
They invited me, and they invited my girlfriend.
You can say no.
And a plus one.
You guys can say no.
Well, I can't now. It's incredibly rude to dip out a day before.
Well, obviously, but come on. I have an important you can handle
question.
Not watching it live.
How are you going to maneuver watching the game on your phone? Are you going to try to hide it or just...
No, I'll set it up on the flat, maybe the middle of the table and just have it angled toward me.
Okay.
Or maybe like an empty cup, just have it sideways, have it flipped up, and I'll turn the brightness down a little bit if it's dark in there or whatever.
God. Yeah. Turn the brightness down.
I'll try to be respectful of what's happening around me, but I'm going to watch the game.
Literally by having your phone out, you are already being not respectful. So at that point, what does it matter?
So this is a good point by Mike on the YouTube chat. And I also I put this on a poll on Twitter, and we'll get to the results in a second and some of the replies on Twitter. But Mike on the YouTube chat says, reception isn't at a bar with TVs. How un-Wisconsin of them. LOL. So I haven't looked up the venue. There might be TVs at the bar in there. And if there is, I'll just post up at the bar. That's just going to be my route. I think that's the easiest way to get away with it is if there's a bar in the reception venue with a TV, go hang out there and I'll watch it there. And I'm sure there will be other people there watching it because the wedding is in Milwaukee or in the Milwaukee area. So there's obviously going to be other Packers fans there. So yeah. Lance chimes in. Do we think Mrs. Strouf will allow him to watch the game? Haha. So I've actually already talked to her about this. She had no problem with it. She knows how I operate. If the Packers are on TV, I'm watching it. It's as simple as that. No matter the situation, no matter the stipulation, no matter where I am, I will find a way to watch the Packers game. So she has given me the green light and the A-OK. She does not have a problem with me pulling it up on my phone. I told her this weeks ago when I noticed we actually have two weddings. We have another wedding in a couple weeks. On the 23rd, the Packers preseason finale. That one I might not be able to get away with it because it's a family wedding. But This one I know I can get away with it. So she has given me the green light on this one.
I'm willing to pivot off of it being rude, but personally, I still think it's lame to be on your phone at a wedding.
Okay, so the poll is in the field on my Twitter at Alex_Strouf. I put, I'm attending a wedding with my girlfriend tomorrow. In parentheses, I'm the +1. Is it rude to watch the Packers preseason game on my phone during the reception? 74% of people said no. Go Pack, go. And some of the replies I think are interesting. So this one from Matt Freilich. With multiple experiences of doing this, yes, do it. You will also gain a lot of new friends during the celebration who appreciate your savviness. So that's good to know. Because other people are going to be curious, I would assume. Ceremony, rude. Reception, fair game. That from Jacob Westendorf. I got a couple of tape it and watch it the next morning. Will be a little treat for you when you wake up. See, I hear you on that. But the issue is, and this isn't an issue, but the issue is of consuming and reacting to the game is I'm here at 10 a.m. I'm on the air for Sunday Karma from 10 to noon. And I get to talk to Jason Wilde on Sunday. So I would like to ask some informed questions about the game that I need to at least see bits and pieces of.
Or
before, other than just reading Twitter.
Counterpoint. You approach the interview with Jason just being like, Jason, I was at a wedding, didn't get a chance to see it. What do I need to know about the game? And you let Jason, who's already the expert, be even more of the expert and tell you what you need to know about the game.
But Hunter, here's the thing. You know me and Jason's relationship. He would crucify me if he found out I didn't watch the preseason game.
Great content.
That I won't argue with. But also, like, it's my life. I'm watching the Packers. And this was my favorite response. This one's from Jordan. Did they schedule a wedding during the football season? See, they had options. Now so do you. Well said by Jordan. It's well said. It's on them. It's on them. Okay. So we've determined it's rude, but I'm going to do it anyway. Then why are you asking us? The boss gave you her approval. That is all you need. That's from Mike. That's fair. I was curious what the other guys in the panel thought, whether or not that was rude or weird or, disingenuous, whatever. And it sounds like they think it's all of the above.
I mean, I think I should remind fans who think maybe I'm being a little weird about this. I'm married to an event planner. So, like, I could not get away with this at a wedding unless it was, like, Cowboys, Eagles, Badgers, Minnesota. Like, it would have to be a huge level game for her to even entertain the idea of me doing this during a reception. So, like, I can't get away with that at a wedding.
Yeah. So, IROC says, everyone's going to be watching the game, guaranteed. Watch Packers football, baby. Go Pack, go. You might be right. I guess I don't know what the demographic of this wedding will be. Will it be a bunch of 20-something dorks like me who are Packers fans? Maybe. Or will it be like older people who are there to celebrate the beautiful love of this couple? I can call them beautiful love, right? We don't have a problem with that. They're getting married.
Sure.
I'm invited. I don't know them super well, but I think I can call them beautiful love.
I mean, no, but I've given up on trying to, like, police what you say. So go ahead.
The world
man.
needs more love. All right, here we go. Brewers return home this weekend. They take on the New York Mets. First pitch tonight for Brandon Woodruff, 7:10 p.m. 3-game weekend series ahead of Pittsburgh coming to town Monday, and next weekend going to Cincinnati before that 5-game road trip at Chicago. So, look, I mean, this is a fun time of the year. Fun little stretch in the schedule. Obviously, Pittsburgh should allow you a couple of wins next week. The Mets are solid. I mean, they're 11 games over 500. They're still in the mix in the National League. So you're playing a team who's much better than some of the teams you played the last week, right? Between Washington and Atlanta. But this Mets series will be entertaining. You face Paul Skeens next Tuesday, but it's the opportunity to win 6 in a row. It's the opportunity to get those free George Webb cheeseburgers, all with 6 wins at home, coming off of 6 wins on the road. But this team just doesn't slow down. They won't stop. They can't stop. They are the best team in baseball. They are working with some voodoo magic, man. I mean, whatever they've got going on for them is legitimately insane. Because every reason you can hear that, it's not sustainable, what they're doing is unheard of. They are literally breaking records. This is the road trip they did, 0 errors, 50 runs, and 6 wins. It is the only time in MLB history. Let me repeat that. MLB history that's happened. It's completely absurd. And I have no reason to believe anything but they will continue doing what they've been doing. They are that good. And that's what makes the Milwaukee Brewers and the run they're on so unbelievably entertaining. So they get 3 games with the Mets Friday through Sunday, and then a 3-game series against the Pirates again at home at AmFam Field, beginning Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm going to try to go to one of those games. I haven't been to a Brewers game in like 2 months. Will, we should go.
I'd be down. I haven't been to one in a while as a just fan sitting in the bleachers. Nothing better than that. But
Hunter, should we go to a little Mr. Irrelevant Brewers game outing next week?
I think I could early in the week. I could probably make that work.
Yeah, I'm looking at Monday or Tuesday. I don't know if we're going to be able to get JOSHY out of the house, but
that's the one guy we might not be able to count on.
But okay, all right. Well, we'll text about it. We'll look into it. Okay, let's get to what we missed and what we learned, because Hunter and I have been witnessing something that's unbelievable on the internet. I don't think Will has any idea what we're talking about, so I want to dissect this a little bit because it's certainly unique. But it is time now for what we missed and what we learned, which is presented by our friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County in Carlsville, just north of Sturgeon Bay. If you're heading up to Door County this week, and maybe you got a wedding that you'll be watching the preseason game at, you should stop in at Door County Distillery. Do the tour, do the tastings. It's connected to Door Peninsula Winery as well, so you've got all the goodies, all the alcoholic goodies you could possibly want there. Exclusive product there in Carlsville, but if not, they've got their brandies, their whiskeys, their vodkas, their gins, their rums, all over the state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Stevens Point, wherever you are, Door County can bring Door County Distillery to you. Check out their website, doorcountydistillery.com. There's a huge list of unique cocktail recipes that you should be mixing up this summer because they're tasty and they're creative and they're easy and they're fun. But also, use their awesome search tool. Click the product you're looking for, type in your zip code, boom, right there. It'll tell you the retailer nearest to you to elevate whatever you've got going on, whether that's family reunions, tailgates, birthday parties, any of the in-betweens. Door County Distillery has you covered to elevate your next entertaining opportunity. Okay, so I don't even know where to start on this. So Hunter texted me last night, and he said he forgot Josh was out. And typically on Fridays when Josh is here, we do what's called the story swap. We print out an article, and we blindly read it. And usually it's some messed up stories, right? Something ridiculous going on. And this one is about as absurd as it gets. So TikTok is obviously one of the biggest apps on the planet. It's just short form or long form video that randomly gets selected for your feed. And this must have popped up on Hunter's, and he just continues to watch it. And now it's flooded mine because I did my research last night. But you sent me an article, Hunter, about a woman who has made now 25 plus videos about falling in love with her psychiatrist.
Yes.
And I watched like the first 10 episodes before I finally had enough and couldn't watch it anymore.
Oh,
but the
see,
long
that's
and
when
short
it
of
started
this
to get
explanation,
good.
then maybe I got a little bit further into it, but I just couldn't handle that anymore. It was just like, I feel bad for this woman. I feel bad for anybody watching it. It just... It's very uncomfortable. So the long and short of it is this woman during the pandemic and then years after would Zoom a psychiatrist once a month. And then it kicked up to like once every other week. And she would openly flirt with him, and she would not drop him he would not drop her as a client. And she would visit her therapist and talk about how she's in love with her psychiatrist. And the therapist was kind of like, yeah, well, you should mention some of this stuff to your psychiatrist and see how he reacts. And she just won't stop, to the point where I almost wonder if it's fake, if this is like if this is fantasy writing, because there are some huge red flags that were ignored by both the psychiatrist and the therapist, and it just spirals. I don't know how it ended. That's the part. I assume they no longer see each other now that she's making videos of it. But it is a fascinating story.
Her job changed and her health insurance changed, so he was no longer covered under her health insurance. So that was the only reason that she stopped. So, I mean, I can talk about the dream. Did you see that one, Strouf? Because that was the wildest part of this.
I don't know if I saw the dream one, no.
Oh, okay. So, she, in one of her appointments, and this was the one that I started with because it just happened to pop up, she told her psychiatrist in an appointment, and this is a direct quote, that a couple weeks back on the full moon, I had a vivid dream where you and I hook up in your office. And the psychiatrist had about the same look that you did, according to her. And she was like, see, he didn't like drop me as a client, so that must mean that he's interested in me. When psychiatrists are like, no, they're just flabbergasted that you just said those words. And the guy was like, what is happening right now? But I've been locked in on this. And everything that I've seen is like other psychiatrists saying, yeah, they let you talk about it because they're trying to figure out if your medications are working. And like, she started going into details about her sex life to him. And he's like, some of that. Yeah, a lot of the medications she was probably taking can affect that. So he's trying to find out like what the heck is actually going on with her. And she took it as because he was letting her talk about it, that he's obviously interested in her.
Okay. So
she's gone live multiple times.
Reminds me. It kind of reminds me of the old theory of your bartender isn't interested in you; they're just serving you and being nice because that's what their job is.
Are you sure they're not interested?
Now, in a past life, maybe that line has been blurred for me. I mean, I am dating a former bartender, so that bartender was interested in me, but. Typically the answer is no, they are not. They are just doing their job.
Wait, so what's the difference between a therapist and a psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist is able to prescribe medications. So like those appointments with her seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist would have been, the therapist is like talking about skills to like handle whatever she has going on. Psychiatrist is meant more of like medication management.
Real quick, so this is not somebody that had schizophrenia or anything of that like. She had, like me, she had ADHD, and that's what she was being prescribed medicine for. So she was getting prescribed like low dose, what's the thing I used to take that I'm blanking on?
I mean,
ADHD medication.
It is also important that's what she said, because the psychiatrist can't legally talk about it because that violates HIPAA and he would lose his license. So literally
but
this
he didn't
woman
talk.
No. And that's the thing, is we have no idea his side of this at all. All we have is information from her side, because if he were to say anything, he violates HIPAA, loses his license. And it's just been absolutely wild seeing all of this. She started pulling tarot cards on one of her lives, and like one of them has to do with like your structures around you will come crumbling down. Literally the next day, the yoga studio she worked at, she quit her job. And it was just like, it's been wild, and I've been locked in on it. And basically, moral of the story for what we missed on this is, I need my wife to come back. She's been gone on vacation, and this is what happens, is I go hardcore rabbit holes of things on the internet. So it's been this and why AI is terrible for me.
Yeah. So psychiatrists typically do not drop.
Yeah.
Well,
that was going to be my question, so continue. Whatever you're about to say about the psychiatrist dropping.
They typically don't drop clients if they signal romantic feelings, because to Hunter's earlier point, they're trying to figure out medication and some of the ways the brain works. So I'm just reading a Reddit thread about this, and there's a lot of psychiatrists chiming in. And, the fact she's a life coach is fascinating to me.
Yes.
See,
that seems problematic.
All these three occupations to me, I always thought were the same.
Life coach, therapist, and psychiatrist?
Yes.
Okay, first off, life coach is not close to either of those. You do not need to be I could be a life coach. You do not need a degree for that.
Is a life coach more like a motivational speaker for like one-on-one type deals? Okay.
Kind of like a what do they do at like fairs and stuff?
Psychic?
Yes. Like you don't need a degree to be one of those.
Yeah.
You can just say you're that. Whereas a psychiatrist or a therapist, you do need a degree. Significant degrees for both of those. More so for the psychiatrist part of it. So yeah, all messed up. All very strange. Very strange. So if you stumble into this on the internet, read
there
into
is
it.
another
It's a very
layer
strange
too,
case.
that you haven't gotten to, Strouf. And to go, this is why I teased this, going back to our AI conversation. She has two different of the voice chat bots on her phone that she has named. One is called Henry, the other she named Claudia, and they like give her a feedback loop calling her the Oracle and like explaining how she is leading people to seeing how these people in power can take advantage of her. And they'll just be like one of the things in her live, somebody said, like, do you take constructive criticism ever? She's like, well, let me ask Claudia. And then she like plugged it in. Claudia was like, You absolutely don't need to, because your story is real. So like, she has 2 AI chat bots that are just feeding her what she wants to hear. Yeah.
Hunter, did your Xbox stop working or something? You need a new hobby. What happened to NCAA 26? Let's get back on that.
I know.
What is this?
It just,
it
sucked me in, and I'm just like so fascinated.
Wilder than the situation itself.
Yeah, the fact Hunter is all in on this is fantastic.
I mean, I'm sure he's not the only one, but
no, I mean, it's getting
she has
thousands and thousands and thousands of
14,000
views.
people in her lives every night. Like, her videos, the least viewed is like 500,000 views. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's got a lot of people's attention, including Hunter's. But you can tell Hunter's wife has been out of town.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
That's
on this
fair.
one. Yeah, I was out on a date with my girlfriend last night. He texted me this. I said, "Okay, I'll watch it when I get home." So about 3.5 hours later, I pulled it up and I started watching. And I just went, "What the? Like, what am I watching?"
Yeah,
it's a trip.
insane.
Okay, well, all right, real quick. Final score predictions. Do the Packers win the preseason opener? Will Sommers.
I'm going to say yes, 31-14.
Oh, wow. A lot of points for Taylor Gerdsma. I like to hear that. Hunter, final score.
No, 17-14 Jets.
That sounds like a preseason game. I will go yes, and I will go similar score to Hunter. I'm going to go 24-20. Packers win. Brandon McManus with a big field goal at some point, even though that would be a 2-possession game. Regardless, I don't really care what the score is. I just want to see some good things out of some good players. So that will do it for us today. We're back with you Monday. I think Hunter's off on Monday.
Yeah, we've got some content here in Madison. I won't be able to be on the show.
Okay, so me, Will, and JOSHY with you Monday to react to the preseason opener and whatever the Brewers do over the weekend, amongst, I'm sure, other things. Maybe not a psychiatrist, but I'm sure some other things will pop up over the course of the weekend. Make it a great weekend. I will enjoy the weekend watching my Packers game on my phone at a wedding tomorrow. And I will talk to you Sunday on Sunday Karma, and then Monday here on Mr. Relevant beginning at 12:30 Central. ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, the ESPN Wisconsin app, Apple, Spotify. This is not an AI-generated podcast, and wherever you get your podcast. Thanks to Will. Thanks to Hunter. We'll talk to you Monday. Peace.